Hello and welcome to People and Profit, where we look at how business shapes our world. I'm Stephen Carroll. This week, a special programme from the summer school of France's biggest business lobby, Medef. Coming up in the programme, we speak to France's boss of bosses about the realities of doing business in France in 2016. President Hollande's been trying to boost the economy with pro-business policies, but have they helped? And as the political world gears up for the presidential election next May, we're asking French business leaders what they want to hear from the candidates. This event brings together some of the biggest names in French business. The theme this year is Believe and Act, something that many French businesses may find it difficult to do after years of economic stagnation. People here are also looking forward to next year's presidential election and the changes that may bring for them and their business. Now, in a moment, we'll be hearing from the head of Medef, Pierre Gattaz. But first, a look back at some of the pro-business policies that President Hollande has passed during his time in office. Kate Moody's back at the studio with more details.
The economy has always been a top priority for François Hollande. Just months into his tenure, he began passing acts to encourage hiring and boost performance. In total, they've offered some 50 billion euros in payroll tax cuts and tax credits to French companies. That was a key pillar of his so-called Responsibility Pact, which tried to reduce red tape in the business community while creating jobs. Hollande also green-lighted a public investment bank offering loans specifically to small and medium-sized businesses. The government went a step further with the so-called Macron law, which aimed to open up the economy and make it easier to do business. Among the most controversial proposals were allowing stores to have more flexible working hours and open on more Sundays throughout the year, as well as loosening restrictions on tightly regulated professions like bailiffs, notaries, and pharmacists. That was followed by the contentious labour reform law forced through Parliament this year, with the goal of making it easier to hire and fire. Now, the impact of these reforms and initiatives has been mixed. Huge public protests have highlighted the controversial nature of the changes. Many unions have yet to sign on to different working hours, and most retail outlets in Paris remain closed on Sundays. Less than a third of sectors have committed to job creation targets, and in 2015, only about 24 billion euros worth of tax credits were issued. The overhaul of the labour code had to be watered down because of public protests and political opposition, so much so that many proponents now believe it's unlikely to make a real impact. GDP growth has been lackluster, but the unemployment rate has finally begun dropping, creeping below the 10% mark in the second quarter of 2016 for the first time since late 2012, just a few months into Hollande's presidency. Whether that drop continues and how low it will go could be key both for his legacy and his political future.
Welcome back to the summer school of the French Business Federation, Medef. I'm joined now by the head of Medef, Pierre Gattaz. Pierre Gattaz, thank you for speaking to us. If I can start, if I may, with looking back over the past few years, we've had several major policies announced under François Hollande aimed at helping French businesses, the Responsibility Pact, just one of them. Have they helped your members?
Yes, definitely yes. It goes in the right directions because the margins has been restored from 28% up to 32%, which are the EBITDA on the added value. So it's a good move in the right directions. So the tax burden is less in France. So it allows us to invest more and make some job creations, because the job creation by the French economy last year in 2015 was 150,000 people. So it's a good news, good move. So we have to go further and stronger now, because there's still a gap of 90 billion euros with our main competitors. So we have now to go into a new step, which is to decrease the public expenses of France. This is why the 9 months which are coming to feed the candidates of the election is so important for the business community of France to say, okay, we have been moving in the right directions. But now we have to go quicker and faster on the tax reforms to keep on decreasing the tax burden on one side, and on the social law, labor law, to keep on simplifying in order that we are not fighting to hire in France. So things are moving in the right directions. Now we have to go ahead.
You have many candidates speaking here at your event from different parties. What are you hoping to hear from them? What sort of promises do you want to hear from them? And will you believe them?
On the right and on the left, people are more and more convinced that business is so important for the country, for growth, for jobs, for richness, wealth creation in France. So that's a first good thing, very good. Then on the right, I see the programs, and they all take our message. Like 35 hours, we have to reform that. Labor law should be simplified. Wealth tax should be suppressed, and so on. So it really goes in the right direction on the program. On the left, there are good things too, but I'm expecting to see the programs. So we are telling the guys, tell us the vision that you have in France, for France in the next 10 years. Tell us what you are going to do for the business people, especially the SMEs, and tell us the big reforms. And tell us how you are going to restore trust in the business community, and then how you are going to look at the most important objective for France, which is to go back to a strong growth on one side and to full employment situation on the other side.
And is that realistic? Do you think those promises
Yes.
are realistic to be able to achieve
Going
that?
to 10% unemployment ratio right now, down to 6%. The UK has done it. Germany has done it. Switzerland is 3%. Most of the Scandinavian countries are below 7%, sometimes 6%. We can do it.
But
so
when people
I think France,
outside of France look at France externally, they see protests over the labour law reform. They see it as a country that's difficult to reform.
This is why it's so important to explain why we have to do these reforms. And we have to say that during 2 days here in this university. Why? Because we have to tell the people, this is a mutation of the world. This is a climate mutation. This is the globalization of the economy. All these mutations are opportunities for growth and for job for France.
Do you think in 10 years the 35-hour working week will still exist?
Well, I think that it has been, optimized already. So, and with the labor law, the loi travail, we will be able to adapt and adjust in all companies. So, if a company wants to work 40 hours, he will be able to negotiate that and with his team. So it's very important because you will have the possibility to adjust and to adapt. So I think more and more and progressively, year after year, we will see people who are going to work more than 35 hours. So I think it's a very important move in the right directions, yes.
And we've had the resignation of the Economy Minister Emmanuel Macron. We don't know yet if he's officially going to become a candidate in the presidential race. Would he be a candidate you'd like to see in the race?
Well, I think, yes, definitely yes. Why? Because Emmanuel Macron comes from the business. He was a banker. He speaks a perfect English. He is well known by the entrepreneur. He understands the digital revolution, the globalization of the economy. So he has good reflex, I would say, basic reflex. So I think he could be a good candidate. So now, apart from that, I don't know his program. I don't know if he will be candidate first. I don't know his program. And then I will be we have to be very careful about how he's going to put in place reforms. Because one of the most important things of all candidates, they say, okay, we are going to do things, marvelous things for the business, for the companies. They let us dream a lot. But the problem is the execution of the reforms. So we are going to see the credibility of their programs and especially how they are going to put in place the reforms. It's so easy to be elected on a program and then afterwards to do nothing. So you make everybody dream, and so it's important to see the credibility and how he's going to put in place the reforms and on which calendar, because we don't have 5 years. I think the most important thing will be to make the most important reforms in the 6 to 9 months after the election.
And can I ask you finally, in 2013 you spoke to us, you told us that French entrepreneurs were desperate. Is the situation improved today? Are they still desperate?
Well, I think that, as I told you, the responsibility pact goes in the right direction. So the tax burden decrease, the margins are restoring. So that's a good news. And so the people are less depressed than 4 years ago. Labor law goes into the right directions. So I think that now we are in a way and to be optimistic, to be enthusiastic. We are 9 months, before a very important election. So what we try to do is to tell everybody, let's build France together. Let's build a strong France together.
Okay, Pierre Gattez of Medef, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
The topics on the agenda here range from Brexit to innovation to the labour market. Many of those attending, though, will have one eye too on the other major event coming up next year, and that's the French presidential election. We've been asking some of the attendees what sort of policy ideas they're hoping to hear from the candidates.
To me, the first thing is education. The second thing is to have a vision, a political vision regarding the future, which actually addresses the issues of digitalization. And we need to think about what could be the labor market in the next 10 years.
Let us hire people easily, free us a little from the shackles in this area, so that simply put, we can hire people when we need them, and also have a little flexibility to let certain workers go if a project comes to an end.
I would focus my speech and my recommendation, I would say, on the financing of startups. Today, I think there are not enough instruments that can enable startups to grow, to expand, and to become the regional champion of tomorrow.
We need a citizen of the world. We need somebody to understand that other countries are changing, that digital economy is transforming every business sector, and that's very important. Otherwise, you can't really transform France, and you can't prepare France for the next 10 years.
That's it for this special programme from the Medef Summer School. If you have any comments on the stories that we've covered, please do get in touch at France 24 Business on Facebook, or you can tweet me at NewsStephen. Until next time, thanks for watching.